Orange and Blue Bloods Thursday on the Buddy Martin Show. We're talking UF Miami with Ben Troop and Franz Beard. Coming to you now on the Buddy Martin Show. Hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening. I'm your host, Lauren Meadows, on the Orange and Blue Bloods Thursday with the Buddy Martin Show. And tonight we're going to be talking about a ton of things, a lot of UF Miami, and we'll also be talking with Ben Troop and Franz Beard. We'll also be talking a little bit of Florida alumni with the return of Laura Rutledge, who was once an intern with Buddy Martin and Brendan Martin with Gator Country, and just her development and how she's really become a star at ESPN, and she'll be back in town this weekend with the SEC show and just talk about all things Florida Gators. So, looking forward to a good show. How you doing, Brendan?
We're doing all right. How are you there? Everyone calls you coach. Buddy calls you coach. That's weird for me. I can't do that. It's like, I don't know what else to call you. So I'm going to call this guy Smoke because this guy's just joined us. What up, dude?
What's up?
We got Florida Georgia Hall of Famer, Florida Gator great, Ben Troop, 84 Reasons podcast. So here we are, Ben, less than 48 hours away.
Let's go.
The battle for the. So let me ask you this: did you know that it was called the battle for the Seminole War Canoe, the UF Miami game?
That's what this is called?
It's called the
See his
battle
reaction?
for the
Do you
the
see his
Seminole
reaction?
War Canoe.
I had the same reaction.
I listen. I'm not saying that's not what it's called, but we're going to have to work on that name. I mean, we're going to have to work on that name real quick. But no matter what it's called,
Yeah,
the Seminole
that
War
name
Canoe,
is
Since 1937, it has been called the Battle for the Seminole War Canoe. As somebody who played in that rivalry, you need to know that.
Well, listen, I don't know where the canoe is located, but we need to make sure we are canoeing after the game.
That's super not heterosexual, is all I'm going to say.
So and here's the thing. It's supposed to go back and forth, which means that Florida has won the last two meetings. So that means that somewhere in Gainesville, probably in a closet, is that Seminole.
Oh my God! I can't. It's in the closet now. Now it's in the closet.
Listen,
these things write themselves.
They do write themselves. They do write. And when you guarantee, Lauren and Brendan, it is in somebody's closet. Listen, it's in somebody's closet. Somebody said, "Hey man, you got that canoe that got the similar thing on it? Like, what for? What? Because we gonna need that." Hey, bro, listen. Either way, we need to listen. Whoever closet is in, don't worry about taking it out because it's gonna be with us after these next 48 hours. But I'm just happy, Lauren, that we made it. I mean, we was talking about it on another show. Sometimes surviving the off season is just as hard as the season itself with coaches, players.
This one particularly, though.
I'm just saying.
One's been a little much with all the stuff.
I mean, no, Brendan, I'm telling you, the last time we played Miami, it was in Orlando. They was talking that big stuff again, like they doing. And I'm not talking about the players. I expect the players to be very, very excited. But the news of the day, which I know we'll get to, Montrell Johnson will be playing. So you can put up all that. Who's gonna be? Who is it gonna be? Trayon and by committee. Montrell. Now, I don't know how much they're gonna work. They're not gonna put the workload on him. But hey, man, him being ready. That's what. And Lauren, you know this. Players go through the off season, body ain't ready yet. Season starting to get a little closer, body starting to feel a little better. Game week, hey coach, I'm good. What? I'm good.
Right. Well, and you talk about a young man who's in his 4th year in Billy Napier's system. And what I tell people is, and I was telling somebody on an earlier show, really good running backs at this level, they've been running the football since they were in Pee Wee. They know how to run the football. Where Montrell Johnson is going to be a big difference maker, and where that will stand out the most is in those protections, Ben. And you know that being able to recognize fronts, see where the pressure's coming from, and help Graham Mertz out. A lot of people are waiting on Graham Mertz to be able to let it rip and things like that. And even though he may not be 100%, the ability to step up, punch a linebacker in the mouth, give Graham Mertz that extra half second, second and a half to get the ball down the field if possible is going to be key there. So that's what I tell people, like you said, they got the Trayon Webbs, they got the Jaden Boz, and I don't see Montrell handling a ton of work there. But in the protections, I mean, that's where he's going to be key. So I think that, like you said, that was big news just from the standpoint, and even Billy Napier alluded to it, is a lot more to playing running back than just toting the rock. And that was where the separation, I think that's why, you were kind of seeing Trayon Webb just based on experience and being in the offense was a little bit ahead of Jaden Bob. But now Montrell Johnson looks to be good to start. And, like a lot of people are saying, he's RB1 because he can pick up. And that he's the most complete back really that they've had on the roster for, in my opinion, the last 2 to 3 years. And that's why he's where he is. They trust him. They know what to expect out of him. And Ben, you played with some good ones, and you understand that as well. So, but I think that's where Montrell makes the biggest difference.
He does, and Worth is where you creating opportunities that have nothing to do with you shining. I think with a guy like Montrell, look, he's the leading rusher returning to the SEC this year. So everybody knows what he means. But I think that the thing those young guys need to see is what we just mentioned, Lauren. It's 3rd and 6. I'm scanning to see where that blitz is coming. Somebody come. So just say that blitz is supposed to be coming off the edge. He drops in the coverage. I got a free linebacker. I got to get him because a running back needs to see it being done. And I think Montrell, he's just showing the rest of this team as well as the running back position. Look, y'all know what I do between the tackles. Y'all know what I do in 3rd and short. Y'all know what I do on the goal line. Let me be the 6th offensive lineman. I just got a running back number on to keep that guy, fresh. Because now when you talk about a guy like Montrell, I know he's been itching to go. And obviously the coaches, he probably told coach, hey coach, I could come back. No. We want you to get as much time as possible. And when we see you, we want it to be for real. We know you want to get out there. You ain't got nothing to prove, man. You've done it. You came over from Louisiana. Right? You and Torrance. And everybody was thinking, these dudes coming over from Louisiana? Last time I checked, the Torrance, didn't he get a brick? Yes. Best guard in the country. Montrell is saying, look, I believe in Billy Napier, and we talked about this a lot, Lauren and Brendan. The culture has to come through the players. No better ambassador for a guy like Billy Napier and his culture than Montrell, because he's been with him the longest. He really knows him. So I think him being able to play, it's a boost to this entire team because just like I know, Lauren, I don't care what players say. I wanted Montrell to play because that was going to be the question, right? Come Friday. Hey, coach, is Montrell playing? And that's going to be coming from Shamar James and more, right? It ain't going to be coming from offensive guys, but when they know – but Billy Napier's smart. Let me go ahead and announce it. Right now, he's playing. That way, I ain't doing no smoke and mirrors for them boys down there in Miami. He's playing. He gonna be fresh. He's gonna be, very energetic. The main thing they're gonna tell Montrell is take your time. Listen, ball security, because you ain't played in a while. They're gonna be punching at that thing, and you're gonna be trying to make a play. Ball security. We gonna protect you from yourself. I know it's Miami, but it is game 1. We need you for all 12, just like we need 1-5 for all 12. But I'm happy for the young man. I think he's battle tested. He's definitely one of the, the proven leaders and captains of this team. But Lauren, no greater boost than, listen, if I'm a player on Florida and they checking their phone all the time like we doing, they're like, Montreal gonna play? Yeah. What? They run it to go, talk to coach and make sure this ain't you ain't trying to get pumped or anything and somebody lying. But I am happy for him because there are certain players that what they do position-wise is only half of what they mean to the squad. Montreal means a lot to this squad. I mean, he got talked about this offseason more than players on the field because you see him over there running on the treadmill. I'm just happy that he's back. And Billy Napier is not going to rush him back. So people think he rushed him back. I guarantee you, if he had to protect Montreal for himself, he would have sat him. Hey, Montreal, don't even come to the stadium. But he's going to be out there. I'm looking forward to seeing him. But I think it's just such a boost because nobody, listen, I mean, Graham can't say this. He's going to say all the right things. Graham wanted Montreal next to him. Be like, look, man, I trust Trayon. I trust Bach and those boys, but ain't nobody like Montreal. He's gonna be there, and like I say, I know the Miami boys. They ain't gonna say it out loud. They didn't want to see Montreal. They wanted. That's it.
There it is. There it is.
There you go.
There it is.
So, I mean, you're playing for that. I mean, is that not motivation enough?
Hey, look, you guys,
here's
you
the
guys
shot.
Been affiliated with the program.
This is the good shot right here. This is money shot right here. This would sell the boat.
That looks like it might be it. That looked like a Seminole war canoe to me.
All right.
Listen, I already looked it up. This is what they did early on. This is the actual war canoe. The whole deal.
I mean, unless it's, can't nobody fit on that thing, but a very, very small child or a little dog. Can't no.
This is from 1983, the Seminole war canoe on display. Yeah. Well, we can like the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah. It gets
So changing gears a little bit, so now we kind of move to the defense, and a lot has been said about the defense. We talked about it, but looking at the depth chart that was released yesterday, the one thing I think I like is you see things like Justice Boone or Cameron James or Tyreek Sapp or LJ McCray, Desmond Watson or Cam Jackson, TJ Searcy or George Grums at Jack and things like that. And what that tells me, if I want to spin it in a positive way, is that Florida has up front 7 to 8 guys that they trust to go out and make some plays. I mean, a lot's been made about LJ McCray. He basically looks like a college junior already. But that they feel like that as a unit, they've got 7 to 8 guys that they can go in there that they trust to play in that front 4 to 5 and be able to get it done. And it's going to be a tall order. I mean, you got Damian Martinez, who rushed for 1,000 yards at Oregon State last year, was a freshman All-American, was on the Doak Walk, was a Doak Walker semifinalist. And, a lot's been made about Cam Ward, but, the battle up front and the ability to maybe make Cam Ward one-dimensional and make him try to win the game with his arms and neutralize Martinez, I think could fall on that front 7 just to keep those guys off of Shamar James and Pup Howard so they can get downhill and eat.
We've heard a lot about this defensive line, and the one thing that stood out was depth. They got depth, they got depth, they got depth. And people saying, what's all these oars about? Well, all them guys have earned it. So instead of just saying, listen, D-line, you know this, Lauren. It don't matter who run out there first. It don't matter who run out there. He ain't playing every snap. And if he is, that's because somebody's hurt. But the thing about, a guy like, McCray, right? 5-star. He ain't never felt what he going to feel on Saturday. So they're going to let him run out there so he can feel it. Come over here, young boy. Wow. It's different, ain't it? Yeah, coach. Because sometimes, Lauren, listen, all these players are good enough to go out there and get it. But these veteran guys, they get to show these young guys, hey, I know Boone time. Boone was one of the talks of the offseason. Great for mic'd up. But I think what these youngers finna realize real fast is, hey man, you got to really, really, really pace yourself. Football is a pace game. I get it. You got to give it your all every single play, but you got to know when to turn it on. I'm not saying loaf now. That ain't what I'm saying. But if I'm on the backside and it's on the front side, I got to stay in my gap. I got to slide. But excuse me, I can't be trying to run somebody down from behind. But I like what Billy Napier is doing. He's saying, look, I saw what these guys have done all year. You know, especially at the D tackle position with Cam and those guys, the big dads and those guys. Cam Ward needs to feel it. And the only way he's going to feel it is if you hit him early and hit him often. So for everybody thinking, hey, man, Cam Ward finna throw it all around the yard. Not if Will Harris got something to say. Will is telling Asa and all those guys, if Cam Ward, and Asa knows him because he's played against him before. Asa knows him. I'm looking forward to this D-line, though, Lauren, for this reason right here. I would get so sick of everybody talking about, hey, man, I think we're going to be the weak link. I don't know about that front four. And if I'm these young, I'm saying, all right, let's see. I mean, former teammate of mine, Steve Harris, who's been to practice, he said, all them boys looking good, man. Because every last one of them brings something different. Mm-hmm. Every last one of them. And that's the good part about it. Some of them going to be better pass rushers, but every last one of them have to be run stoppers. Every last one. You got to set the edge. You got to create a new line of scrimmage. Because running the football for any defensive player, if you don't know, that's attitude. That's somebody saying, hey, bro, you can throw game plans out the window. It's going to be me and you, and I'm going to push you this way, and we're going to get 3-4 yards a pop. You got to decide, hey, man, they can't keep doing this. Because if you looked at the tape last year, which Cam Ward them saying, oh, man, we got a 1,000-yard rusher, Doak Campbell, that's where he was at. That's not where he is. Cam Ward was good where he was at. That's not where he at now. Transfers transfer for two reasons. Better situations, right? They transfer because it's a better situation, or I want to boost my resume. I think for Cam Ward, he want to boost his resume. Where he was at, he was a good player. Ain't nobody really watching him. Not the way he wants to. And Cam Ward can play. The young man can play. But you know how it is, Lauren. Once again, Lauren, you were a coach. There were players who were good players, but they weren't good against your team, and it don't mean they wasn't a good player. That's right. What I mean. You got to make Cam Ward say, "Oh, he gonna have a good year." Not against us. Don't look. Aiden Hutchinson was number 2 overall pick out of Michigan. I bet you they didn't watch that Georgia tape. I guarantee they weren't evaluating him on that. They was evaluating him, which is fine. Everybody gonna have a bad game.
Did we lose Ben?
Looks like he did.
He
must have dropped that for a second. He probably decided he broke his microphone probably.
Let's talk about Meldon Law.
Let's talk about Meldon Law. They don't back down and all that good stuff. So you caught me with my pants down. Hold on, I'm trying to get Ben back. Just give me a second.
All right.
Let's see. He's trying to join, but he's all got no camera feed. Let's see, and then we got Buddy Martin coming in. All right, so we will do Meldon Law. Sorry, I do have a couple things going on in my head. Meldon Law won't back down.
To come to your house soon. Yeah. Happy birthday in advance. Jeffrey's finally going to hit 50. He's been all these years. He's finally going to get to 50 years old. He misspent you for the first 49. Now he's going to make it right.
That's right. Hey, you're absolutely right, buddy. I'm 50 in my own mind.
That's all that matters, man.
And you too.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking I'm 55, maybe, or maybe 60. But listen, happy birthday on that. Now, let's get down to business. Meldon Law doesn't mess around. You did something terrific for the Florida band, man. Tell me about it.
Well, about 3 years ago, our dear friend Freddie Wiebe comes to us and said, the University of Florida won't buy the band a box truck to move their equipment around in. And when they go to Florida State, they go to Jacksonville or whatever, they don't have any, they have to rent trucks and stuff like that. So we collaborated and we put together a deal where we provided them a beautiful big box truck, and we wrapped it and with Meldon Law and the UF band. And by the way, the UF band was voted the best band in the country in August of 2023.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you hear about Ohio State.
Yeah.
And they're wonderful and all, but the UF band is exceptional. Jay Watkins, the director, does a great job. So anyhow, we went from the box truck to doing that commercial with me. Jeffrey wants to play in the band, right?
Yes.
So, and that may be my favorite commercial.
Made you very big too. But I think that and the tango maybe probably did you more good than anything.
Well, Freddie and I are working on our follow up to
I hate to think about that might scale Mount Everest or something.
I mean, really, what I want to do is have a real life band playing for a Gator game, playing Tom Petty's "Won't Back Down," and have my son and I run out of the tunnel and wave to everybody.
Meldon Law, they won't back down. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
What's up,
made
man?
it in town safely and in the house.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, it was a close call because I was going. We had a big thunderstorm in Lake City, bad one.
Yeah, I heard.
I was cruising along, going about usual 75 in the left-hand lane, and a guy pulled out right on top of me.
Oh wow!
And I said, "Oh, I mean, we had to swerve, and when you swerve, you're not sure, keep control of your car."
Oh my God! I'm your son. Don't want to hear these things.
No, well,
things I don't want to hear. Like la la la, perfect trip. I worry about you all the time.
Let me tell you the story. I really swore at the guy, and I got on the other side, and it was really dark, and I kept saying to Dawn, "I can't see my lights anywhere." I'm looking at my lights, and I'm turning things, places I can't get them to turn. And so we get clear of the storm, we're fine, and I drive down about another 15 minutes, and I turned my switch on my lights, and the lights had been off. So it was really my fault. He couldn't see me, so he pulled out. And my lights, I got a new car, and you got to turn them all the way over. And I hadn't turned them all the way over. But I made it. Good Lord was watching out for me. I'm here. I'm ready to do some football. I can't wait till this weekend. We're going to kick some Hurricane butt this weekend. All these people talking tall about Miami. Look, I have a great respect for the guys in the desert, whatever. They got this line wrong. They got it wrong, Lauren.
Well, I think the line. Well, you really gonna think it's wrong because I think it's moved up to about 4.5. So the line has now moved up. A lot of people say that's because a lot of people. I think if you see some of the preview shows, some of our colleagues, a lot of them picking Miami to cover because the line was only 2.5. So they're trying to maybe get some money on UF.
Mm-hmm.
But as we wait on Ben, I don't know if we'll get Ben back, but Buddy. It's also a good weekend for you guys at with what you've been doing for quite some time when you were with Gator Country and other platforms. But a long time ago, you met a young lady with a lot of promise, had an interest in getting into, I think she started in recruiting from what I understand, and wanted to be a ballerina. And the ballerina thing didn't work out. And then she came across Buddy Martin and Brendan Martin, and that is one Laura Rutledge. And she will be making a return to Gainesville for the UF Miami game. And you've been writing just, some things on her and just how, her development and how she came to be. So kind of give us a little bit on that.
Good evening there to you, friends, and Ben. You got something on your hat there? Yeah, wipe it off.
Yeah. This ain't a real baseball team this year, but I'm still rep.
I know about that, but I got the race. Let me say this real fast, and I'll get out of here. You guys don't need me, but you should. I don't usually tell you to read my stuff, but you should read the story because we got an exclusive series with Laura. Her name was Makima when she worked for us, and Rudis. And it's a phenomenal story. She was the accidental ESPN star. She showed up in Gainesville having no clue what she's going to do with her life. And she had overspent her budget. She turned down, she was signed a contract with the ballet in Nashville to go there and decided to come to Florida instead. And she signed up for all these classes, and her parents said, "You can't do all this. We're not paying for all this." So she said, "Well, I better get a job." She didn't know where to get a job. So she asked around, and somebody says, "You sound pretty good on the radio. You should try to get a job there." So she sees there's an opening at WRUF, And so he goes over there and sees Steve Russell, and he says, "Well, we only got one job here. If you want it, you can have it. You have to be at 5 o'clock." So I'll take it. She takes his job all summer. What she thinks is a 5 to 9 a.m. shift, it's really a 5 a.m. shift. And she was stuck with that all summer. In the fall, she started to go to football practice, and she ran into a guy named Brendan Martin. This is in the story. On the sidelines. I'll let him tell the rest of it, but she was fascinated with him to do the video. And of course, the camera loved Laura, as we know. And she and Brendan talked. And Brendan said, "Dad, I want you to meet somebody. You should meet this young woman." I walked over and said, "This is Laura McKeeman. She wants to be a," and I noticed, not that I had any genius, very bright, very pretty, and very positive. She just reminded me of somebody. I said, you might be the next Erin Andrews. You never know. Well, turns out she dead gum nearly is. And I asked her today what that was like when she heard it. She said, "That was amazing when I heard that, because Erin Andrews is the gold standard for me. It has been, always will be." And she talks about her early days at Gator Country being informative. I have a great picture in there of Brendan lording over the recruits through the Cox Cable show, left to right, Laura, Buddy, Franz Beer with a big old smile on his face, and then Justin Wells. Laura and Justin started doing a recruiting show. Brendan's idea. They were streaming it out of Brendan's garage in Gainesville. Nobody was streaming then. And she really got good at it. And she says in the story, I didn't realize people still talk to me about that. So this is the first part of the series, how she got started. It's a really interesting story. I'm waiting on Brendan's quote. But anyway, I'll finish it tomorrow. Will be part 2. Some wonderful pictures of Laura. What a moment for her to come home to Gainesville and host SEC Nation and do her NFL live show there tomorrow and be on Paul Feinbaum, which, by the way, we will be on Paul Feinbaum tomorrow at 6:30. So check us out, coming to Plaza of the Americas. I'm getting almost as big as Ben Troop.
So good evening to Franz Beard. How you doing, Franz? Checking in.
Yeah, it's been a tough week, but I'm here.
Well, it's good to see you, man. Our thoughts are with your stepfather, Dom. Heard he's doing a little better, and good to see you, man. I know that you had a hand in all of this, all that we're talking about with Laura Rutledge, and obviously you dialed into what this UF Miami game is going to be. So I'm going to let you take it where you want to go. If you want to say a few words about Laura, and then we can move on to the big game this weekend.
We did a signing day show from an office that we took over on Northwest 16th. We did a signing day show, and we were there. We started at 7 a.m. on National Signing Day. I think it was the 2010 class. It might have been 2009, but it was either 2009 or 2010. Laura show is there, and I'm there in and out all day with stuff, and Laura and Justin are there, and Laura just absolutely carried it, knew how to fill. And this is the thing that Brendan could tell you about, because Brendan was the guy behind it all there. I think he had stayed up the whole night before to make sure it all worked out. And Brendan can tell you about it. We didn't have dead space. And she's still a rookie at this. We didn't have dead space that day. She knew how to fill in spots. And I thought that was pretty remarkable. I think Brendan would tell you that's the same thing. Wouldn't you, Brendan?
I think, it's hard to, not that you don't remember, but how many shows we've done and all these things. Laura, at that time, we were doing something that was really new and different, and but everyone was doing it. So, when Gator Country did something, everyone else followed. So we started doing these live streaming shows, and next thing you know, Gainesville Sun's doing live streaming shows, and next thing you know, everyone's doing a live streaming show. So Laura fit that mold because she knew kind of radio, so she could come in and she could ramp really well, which is the term that you use for filling in. But Laura's biggest thing was that, and Laura would I don't talk to Laura ever anymore, but I'm just saying, and you love her to death. I wish her the best, but I'm just saying that Laura's thing was that Laura wasn't like natural right away, right? You know, like Laura worked for it. Like Laura really worked for it. Like she wasn't that good at first, but nobody is. But Laura like would not be denied. Like if there's ever like a Tim Tebow type that in television, like Laura kept showing up like day after day after day. Like I to the point I was like, you just will not go away. And that is like the standard. I think that you'll get good in this business if you do it enough. Though I think at one point she was doing 3 shows a week, 3 1-hour shows a week with her schedule and everything else, by herself, just on recruiting. I mean, and I told her, I said, you want to get on TV? Learn recruiting. She learned recruiting. Then
no women were doing it, right, Brendan?
I really don't. I mean, I guess not. I mean, I can't really speak to it as much, but I mean, as far as TV, yeah, women were doing it. We had a lot of interest, but that's the thing. You got to really want it. Look, Laura could have done anything. She's from a family that's awesome, great fan. She could have done anything. She chose one of the hardest things at that time when Laura graduated. It wasn't, I want to go be an influencer on YouTube. One of the number one degree at that time was I want to go work in like sports media, sports something or whatever. And, you know, she worked for everything that she has. Don't think that she hasn't, because when she did from here, she went on and worked at for Tampa, the Devil Rays. I mean, you know, she did sideline reporting, baseball, like all sorts. I mean, she really has put in the time.
And asked us all 1,000 questions every time we saw her.
Yeah.
And I think, guys, and Ben, you know this from breaking into radio when you had no radio experience. You ask 1,000 questions, buddy. And I go back. I mean, back to leather helmets and back when a touchdown was 5 points and an extra point was 3. But we go back a long way, and yet the people that you see that make it in, whether it's in print media or radio or television, are the ones that ask the most questions, and not just the questions of the athletes. I mean, everybody who gets a recorder in their hand thinks that they're the next Bob Costa or somebody like that is going to sit there and ask a zillion questions. But it's not asking the athletes. It's asking the people who do this stuff so that you know how to ask the right question. You know how to ask a good question. And this is what Laura got so good at, because she would sit there and pepper Buddy or pepper Brendan. She wanted to know why do you call that box we had I can't remember that box we had that we could broadcast.
The TriCaster. Yeah.
The TriCaster, yeah. She would ask Brendan questions about how the TriCaster works and why it works. She'd ask me questions about football. She'd ask Buddy questions about asking questions, because Buddy's great at asking great questions. But she was always had questions for all of us. And you know, if you're going to get good in this business, that's what you got to do. Brendan got started doing what he's doing because he's a genius at the electronics. But you know, Brendan didn't go to electronics school to learn it. The school he went to is called the School of 10,000 Questions.
YouTube.
So I went to the Franz Beard School.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I want to know, you know, I'm going to ask a good question here. So, Franz, we got UF Miami. And, you know, we always look to you for our guidance, the soothsayer, so to speak. What does the soothsayer say about Saturday?
Sooth. Okay. The sayer says sooth. I think Florida wins this football game. I think Florida wins this football game, and I think three big factors. I think the factor that Florida can go vertical with more than just Ricky Pearsall. Last year, the Gators were so handicapped. I keep reading this stuff by these wannabes who sit there and say, well, he only completed 37% of his passes that were more than 12 yards. Well, do you know how many guys he had that could get open for more than 12 yards? One. Because it wasn't until November that Trey Wilson learned the route tree and could run a route downfield. Trey Wilson was bubble screens and drag patterns. That's all he knew. And they didn't have time to really get him set, teach him how to block, teach him how to do the other stuff. So they had one receiver that could go downfield. And if you blanketed Ricky Pearsall, guess what? You didn't get the completions. This year, they've got guys that know the offense, that can go vertical. And I got to tell you what, when they put Aiden Mizell on there, or Tank Hawkins, or MJ Abrams, or one of these guys, you're going to see guys that can run like a blue streak. I mean, and what that's going to do, that's going to make everybody's safeties, who last year played 12 yards off the field, are going to be playing 18 yards off the field. What does that do? That opens up that space between the safeties and the linebackers, and that's where you win football games in the passing game.
Absolutely.
Thing before I'm going to go, but I got a note from Ben. He said he's very sorry. He's at his mother-in-law's house. It's like 100 degrees in there. He says with bad internet. So he's I keep freezing up. So he said, apologize. Great stuff. Tell the guys they are the best, and I got you next week.
So you know what really happened? Is he doesn't want to go out on a limb and pick the Gators to win by 3 touchdowns. That's what
friends, I think
I already did. I already came on the show and said the Gators are going to win by big. I said they're going to blow out.
I'm not going to say what you told me before the first game.
No, but that's what look. I am saying that I'm still concerned about all the things. I am saying that Miami is not as good as everyone's saying. That's what I'm saying.
And another thing, and Robert Turner brought it up, friends, and we'll come back to you, but I think you bring up a good point, is you talk about manipulating those safeties and things like that. And I think one thing people haven't talked about is Arliss Boardingham and Hayden Hansen as well being part of that vertical threat that you speak of.
Arliss Boardingham has a big breakout game.
Kind of a hybrid, things like that. So friends,
he has to. Yeah.
So go ahead and continue. You were talking about that. Continue on with,
that's the number one thing they've got. The number two thing they've got is they have the ability now to bring a blitz from every possible angle. And I guarantee you, Cam Ward, who last year got sacked 46 times, by the way. It's not like, I keep hearing he's got escapability. Like where? He got sacked 46 times. How many times is that escapability? I don't think so.
Sir.
But
I'm going to say something that Franz mentioned earlier in the week, and I brought it up again the other night and gave Franz credit for it. And that is the fact that you have no idea how difficult it is to hear on the floor of the Swamp. I've been down there. I can tell you how loud it is. I've been on the field with the team. And if you watch the game last week, Florida State and Tech, they had to finally turn their systems off because one of them quit working. The other one had to turn it off. You saw guys doing this, right? Franz doing this. Now, consider the fact this is going to be below sea level in the Swamp, 93,000 crazy fans, a guy who has never played an SEC game, never played in the Swamp, with intense heat at 3:30 in the afternoon and people on top of him screaming. And you think he's going to be able to hear out of that little thing? I tell you, I don't know what other problems they might have. That's going to be one. And I think they're in for a rude awakening. I think, Franz, you mentioned this earlier. They just don't know what they're getting. And so good luck to the Canes because they could come up against a Mack truck.
Well, and the noise level is going to be, I think, seriously intense. The Swamp is sold out for the season. Okay, think about that, guys. We coming up if Florida's supposed to be so bad, then how is it that we sold out the Swamp for the season? Gee, now, granted, visiting team gets tickets and they may not sell them all. If there are tickets available, it's because the other team didn't sell theirs, but we sold all of our tickets are sold out. My third thing, okay, my second thing was the blitz is going to come from everywhere. And the third thing I'm going to tell you is this: Florida is going to be able to stuff the run this year. I don't know if anybody is looked. Everybody's looking at our good buddy Des Watson, and they're saying he's 444 pounds. Yes, minus 50 something pounds of fat and added 40 something pounds of muscle. He may have only lost 15 or 16 pounds of weight from last year, but he's not a fat boy anymore. He's just one huge eclipse who will walk out of that tunnel and the stadium and it will go dark because he will block out the sun. He's that big. They list him 6'5", I think 448 pounds, and he is just one huge human being who can move. And you put him in the middle, and if he can do what Mount Cody can do, and this is what I've heard he's able to do this year, which is he could take the center on straight on and cover the gap to either side of him, nobody will run on the Gators because they're too fast for you to run outside on them. And if you can't get them straight up the middle. But here's where the other thing comes in, guys, and that is called Grayson Howard and Shamar James, I think are going to turn out to be one of the better linebacker duos in the entire SEC, maybe even in the country. And we got hungry guys. You notice I mentioned two things, and they're all two of the three things are about defense. This defense is going to be serious this year, guys. I'm telling you, Ron Roberts, you look at his history of transforming defenses, and this the 80th time I've said it.
Yes.
4 first downs, 7 points a game. If he does that this year, Florida wins 8 or 9 easily.
So flipping the script a little bit, and friends, a lot, like you said, a lot's been made about the defense and things like that. But we kind of come back and we talk about the matchup between this front four that's supposed to be so great for Miami versus retooled offensive line of the Gators, which I think is going to be much improved. But you hear names like you talk about Reuben Bain Jr., C.J. Clark, Marley Cook, Hakeem Messador. And, a lot of people think this is the ACC's best defensive line. And you have guys like Austin Barber, looks like Cam Waits is going to be making his first start of his career. Is that something, do you see the Gators have an advantage there? Or is that Miami front as good as advertised?
Well, they got to remember something. They were a big team in the almost competitive conference. I mentioned that last year. Everybody says, look at that. They had 35 sacks last year. Yes, 4 of them were against Bethune-Cookman. 6 of them were against Virginia, which had as bad an offensive line as there was in the country. They got 0 sacks against Rutgers. They got 1 sack against the Aggies. They got 1 sack against Georgia Tech. They got 0 sacks against Louisville. In other words, when they played good teams, they didn't get to anybody. Okay. Now they're good. They've got some very talented guys. I'm not kidding you. They've got some talented guys, but Florida a couple years ago. Let's go back. Florida 2 years ago gave up 13 sacks in the regular season, right? They gave up 17 for the year, 13 during the regular season. And that's with an offensive line that wasn't as good as this. Now, there was a better player than Florida, one player who's better than anybody Florida has on this offensive line. But collectively, as 5 guys, this is a better offensive line than there was 2 years ago when they gave up 13 sacks. Florida is going to be better. And you got to remember, some of the reason they only gave up 13 sacks was because they knew how to get the ball out of the hands of the quarterback. Run fast, make plays. And this is one of the things that people don't pay attention to about what Billy's offense does. They're going to be trying to get a playoff every 21 seconds. That wears defenses out. Defenses don't get sacks against teams that can boom, 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 boom like that. You're still paying. You played the game, Lauren, you know. Brendan played the game. Brendan was a stud at Nice. You get these guys who are going, and they barely got their hand in the dirt, and here you come at them again. Boom, boom, boom. And that guy across from you is 330 pounds, and he is just absolutely lathering at the idea that you're sweating and you're in there in 98-degree heat, and you're getting your butt knocked on getting knocked on your butt every play. Florida's offensive line is going to be that much better this year. I really and truly believe they gave up 39 sacks last year. I'll be surprised if they gave up half that this year.
I think, and Lauren, that's a jump in. I think this will be a really good first test because Miami's biggest, is asset is their front defensive line, their front seven. Don't you think? So again, we were talking about this the other day. These teams match up very interesting. That's why I'm not surprised the line has jumped so much with Vegas. I really think it's kind of a pick'ems game if you're not if you're just looking at it on paper. I don't think if you have a little more insight, I think I agree with Franz and some other people. I think it'll be a closer game, but I don't mean, what's a blowout anymore, but I think Florida wins this game handedly. I think the swamp is the major difference in that. And like Buddy said, trying to be, it's going to be like welcome to the SEC, right? It's like,
all right. Well, before we go further, let me tell you about Titan MRI, Gainesville's newest independent MRI facility. They make it very comfortable for you. They got the music, the headphones. They have locations in Gainesville and Lake City. Titan MRI, Gainesville's newest independent MRI facility. And yeah, I mean, as we continue on, I mean you look at those numbers, friends, and it's like as a football guy, you think, okay, now that makes sense. And you hear things and they're talking about the front four, and then you talk about the limited number of sacks against good folks. And it is like you're like, okay, now this makes sense. And then you throw in the swamp and things like that. And you talk about not only is Florida better offensively up front, defensively up front, being able to fit the run. And then you talk about the additions on the special teams, with Brady coming over from the Patriots and now Couch can be on the field, and just, what that could have, particularly in a close football game, that, special teams could be key. Now, I would give Miami the edge at kicker and maybe Florida the edge at punter, but then you have the return game, and you mentioned guys like Tank Hawkins and Abrams and Wilson that can help in the return game, and I think that could be a place where Florida, it's not much talked about that because those aren't household names, but when you look at that third phase of the football game, friends, I mean, I think that's key.
It is. It really, and I think Florida's got a real advantage there too. Trey Smack isn't, Borrega isn't that much better than Trey Smack. If you remember, he's missed field goals too. I mean, good. And I guarantee you, he has never played in a game that he's going to have as hostile an opposition as he's got now. And who knows? we always talk about the kicker. We don't think too much about that guy snapping the ball. And guess what? Who
Great
has the
point.
who makes the most mistakes in the kicking game, in the place kicking game, in big games on the road? The long snapper.
Long snapper, absolutely.
That's
Good
right.
point. Great point, Frank.
Now let me throw something at you too. Now I'm gonna. I know I'm beating the old dead horse, but
Beat it. Go ahead.
Reuben Bain, last year he got a sack against Bethune-Cookman, a half a sack against Georgia Tech. He got a sack against North Carolina. That's a good team. He got 2 sacks against Clemson, and Clemson had a rotten offensive line last year. He got 2 against Virginia, which had the worst offensive line in the country. And he had 1 sack against Boston College. How many did he have against FSU? 0. How many did he have against Louisville? 0. He didn't even get a sack against Shirley Temple or against Texas A&M or against Miami, Ohio, in the Battle of the Miamis. They've got Francis Mariaga, who's a linebacker, and now they got him because he's a Samoan, and that enabled them to get his little brother, who's a rather big little brother. If you
Yeah, I think he's a player, Franz. I mean, he's going to play a right tackle. He's freshman All American. I mean, it's one of those things. It's going to be a close football game, I believe. But I think like you said, you bring up some points. You talk about, and it's almost like if you look at a guy like Bain, it's kind of a prove it type of thing. It's where, you look at the numbers and it's like, let's see if he truly can be the difference maker that everybody thinks he could be. And will that factor in, into the game if he can make his mark on the game.
Maui Goa, he got 2 sacks against FSU. That was his best ball game. But you look at his other sacks. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not impressed. They're good, but at some point in time, you got to figure, who are you getting your sacks against? It's kind of like, there was a guy named Mike Schmidt who used to play third base for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Where's Mike Schmidt from? Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton, Ohio. And you know what? Until he hit 30 years old, you know what his nickname was? Napoleon Solo. Because guess what?
That's my nickname.
Mike Schmidt was famous for hitting 1-run home runs.
Yep, absolutely.
He did not hit home runs with men on base. As he learned to cut down on strikeouts and things like that, he did. But early in his career, men on base, he was nothing. And who you play against, when you're playing people, who you're playing against, all these things factor in. And that's why we get to this part about, where is this game played? It's played in a stadium that, unlike Miami Stadium, because I guarantee you next year when the Gators go down there to play Miami, half that stadium will be Florida people, maybe more than half. Miami didn't even sell out the Orange Bowl, even when they had national championship teams, unless they played a Notre Dame or unless they played somebody of that, or FSU or Florida. Otherwise, they didn't sell out those games. Florida can get in there and beat these people, and the Gators need to start out with that win. Miami can lose this game and still win 10 games because they have a pansy schedule. They play Louisville and FSU, and other than that, that's it. Those are the only tough games they've got left on their schedule. Florida, on the other hand, let's see, we get Samford next week, so okay. Then we get UCF, which is going to be really tough to stop because of that running game. They got a guy named R.J. Harvey who is absolutely scary, because if he takes 2 steps and all of a sudden he is in overdrive. They can run the football, and then you got to have to play Mississippi State. You got to play Tennessee. You got to play Kentucky. That SEC schedule is going to be brutal. But you win that first game, and the confidence that ripples through a team is amazing. I remember Florida comes back in 1980. They've gone 0-10-1, and they play California in the season opener, if I remember correct. And everybody's expecting Cal to beat the socks off the Gators because Cal had a terrific quarterback, ended up playing in some in the NFL, and they got great receivers and everything like this. And Florida beats them down in Tampa. Florida goes from the worst team in the country, 0-10-1, to all of a sudden they win 8 ball games, and they play in the and win the Citrus Bowl. That first game, the confidence level you can get from a team that's had the beatdowns that Florida's had, and not beatdowns as so much as getting blown out. I mean, Georgia did, but Georgia blows out everybody. But beatdowns in terms of knowing that you should have won a game and you lost it. That's a beatdown. And Florida's coming back from that. Getting that first win and being able to say, look at this. Look what we just did. That ripples through in a positive way. And I don't think you're going to be able to underestimate the confidence factor that's going to build. I think they're going into the game very confident, but I think they're going to come out of the game even more confident.
Well,
as we kind of,
I'm just saying, I hope that's the case because you get hit in the mouth in the front. You don't get the timing right. You turn the ball over. You do something early in the first quarter, and this game could get out of control on you.
But
just gotta be careful.
But you know what, Brendan? 2018, we were down there in Orlando. Remember that?
Yeah, I also remember 2008.
Well, 2018, they're down there in Orlando against the Hurricanes. Gators coming off of a losing season. Miami comes in there in the Citrus Bowl. They got the Canes of Dynamite. They're back.
I know.
Well,
but I mean,
but
that's off of a 4-week rest, and you're coming off bowl. It's just different. I'm just saying right now, everyone's undefeated. Well, not everyone, but most everyone's undefeated, and Hurricanes are ready to make and squawk like we know that they are. I just think this is game 1 of your in-state run, right? You've got a hell of an in-state schedule this year.
True state champs.
You want to be true state champs. I think if you're state champs this year, boy, that goes a long way for you. I think it's a good. I loved always how Spurrier always said, "Go win your division in the FCC, go win the SEC, and have a conversation." I think it was always a great way to coach, to keep everyone sort of focused on what the job is at hand. I think right now you want to be state champs. In Florida, I think it's a great, and that kind of carries you through the year because obviously the end of the year game with Florida State. So,
well, let me throw this out there. I could just because we keep getting plugs on it. So, Brendan, a state that you're familiar with, North Dakota State Bison, in the battle of the Buffalo, so to speak, is leading Colorado 2017 in the third quarter. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
Here's one.
The Bison are playing the Buffalo. Is that correct?
The Bison are playing the Buffalo. Correct.
Tastes like chicken.
Here's one for you. The Fighting Kerwin Bells are up on on North Carolina State in Raleigh, 21-17 with 1:14 left.
That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all.
Right. So
great coaching.
So here we go.
The Fighting Kerwins are doing it.
Well,
oh yeah,
he's a great coach.
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think you're going to, particularly with the transfer portal and things like that, you're starting to see a little bit more parity. Obviously, those that know me well know how I feel about Colorado, and where they actually are as a football program. But, we're at the time where now it's and I think everybody's made it clear, but we still want to go around and get some predictions.
What, Prime Time's going to be grabbing his Louis and running out the back door?
What's that now?
Primetime's going to be grabbing his Louis and running out the back door with no cameras running. Is that what you're saying?
Probably, and not answering any questions either.
No, he's going to have another job. He's going to have another job.
Here's another one for you. Cameron Rising is 8 for 12 for 225 yards and 4 touchdowns in the first half.
How many of them are to Brant Keithy?
I'll tell you in a second, but
he's pretty good too.
The point is Keithy is 3 for 58 with 2 touchdowns. Dijon Stanley 3 catches, 150 yards and 2 touchdowns.
All right.
That's the guy that caught the first play against Florida last year, I think.
I just said it's a flashback. It's like a bad acid flashback. I can't. It's like bad acid, man.
So here we go. We got to get out of here.
All right, let's get out of here because I want to go to bed, and I've been.
Yeah, but we got to get.
I had surgery.
We got to get some predictions. Predictions.
Run it down. So we'll start with you, Brendan.
I think Florida wins handedly. And everyone knows I tell the truth, and I'm sure everyone thinks I actually think Florida is better defensively. I think Florida is better. I agree with Franz. I think we are going to see a much better secondary. I think we're going to see a much better coached defense, and I think the offense sputters a little bit because offensive sputter in the first game of the season because there's a lot going on. I think there's going to be some timing stuff. I don't think it's going to be the end of the world per se, but I think Florida's defense shows up, shocks everybody. And I think that's the precedence. I say, I think Florida wins. I'm not a big scores guy. Let's say 28. I'll do 28-14. There you go. How about that? I hate predicting scores, but nonetheless, I think it's going to be a couple scores difference. I think Florida really has no concern.
Go ahead, Franz.
I like Florida 30-17. I think the Gators are going to get on a roll. And in that second half, they're going to run and run and run. They're going to keep running those running backs out. And I think they're going to turn this game into here's the stopwatch. Boom, 21 seconds. We're just running at you. Boom, boom, boom. And you're not going to be able to stop them in that heat. And you get a team that runs the ball well. Give them a little bit of momentum there in the second half of a game. Swiss Spurrier used to do. Throw the passes in the first half, run it in the second.
Keep it simple, stupid, don't you think, Coach? Tomorrow is all about that.
I'm going to finish up. I'm going to say Graham Mertz is the difference. Graham Mertz is far better than people are giving him credit for. I think he is one of the nation's best quarterbacks. He definitely outplays Cam Ward. That defense is retooled. Ron Roberts makes the difference. They get a couple turnovers. It's close, but Florida does win 27-21. And before we go, we got to tell you about Renstar, who's been with the Buddy Martin Show, been a sponsor for quite some time, service in Ocala and Marion County, proven reputation, quality trials, compassionate care, FDA regulated. Renstar Medical Research. It's been a great show, guys. I really appreciate it. It's been my first week kind of running around, but Franz, it's great to see you. Everybody looks forward to your columns, reading you.
Where can you read Franz Beard, by the way?
You can read Franz Beard.
You can read him when he writes, and I can write when I'm not spending the night at the hospital taking care of my stepfather. And
you can read him in Gator Babe Media. Gator Babe Magazine, GatorBabeMedia.com. And I'm your host, Lauren Meadows. You can read me as well, GatorBabeMedia.com. We'll have pregame analysis going up on the site soon for Gator Babe Media with Franz Beard and Brendan Martin. This is the Buddy Martin Show, Blue Bloods Thursday. Have a good evening.